The popular topic online today seems to be, should the Dodgers move Teoscar Hernandez to left field, or more accurately, the Dodgers should move Teo to left field. We're talking about the outfield defense on this edition of the All Dodgers podcast. Coming at you live from all of the places and the things. You saw Jeff is here. I'm here. Kevin is here. And we come from not the land down under. We come from places far and wide. This is the All Dodgers podcast. And there is our illustrious panel. I am Real FRG. The guy in the middle is Snydog. The guy at the end is Skinner7. Kevin, all of us are on social media. All of us have covered the Dodgers in some way, shape, or form for money. And now we do it here on the All Dodgers YouTube channel and the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, or subscribe to us here on YouTube. Rate and review the podcast. Listen to both. It really helps us all out. But enough about us. How about Teo? How about it's off day Dodgers talk? And that's the biggest question we have today. Outfield.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit. I touched on it in yesterday's solo show, which, by the way, thank you all for showing up for me. I appreciate that. I just touched on it briefly because I knew there's a whole show here, because Teoscar's outfield defense is unfortunately a big topic and not a simple topic with a simple answer, despite the fact that on Twitter, everything's a simple answer. And in the YouTube comments. But in real life, there's a lot to think about and talk about with regards to Teoscar's defense. We can all agree Teoscar's defense is bad. I mean, Ray said it in the chat just now. Did it show up?
Buttons good, and
sometimes you got to click on the thing and then it'll do the thing.
You have to hit the side of it, and then eventually the static goes away.
All right, I guess I can't pull this up. Why is it popping up this thing for me? I don't know. Anyway, Ray says Teo's horrible, but we knew that. Assuming we were talking about the defense, that's Teo's defense is bad, and Teo's defense has been bad as long as he's been wearing a Dodger uniform.
And before that.
Well, and before that, we knew that heading
I wouldn't
into
know.
the contract. Very, very few. And listen, he's here to hit dingers. He's here to throw seeds. He's here to smile. He does those all usually very, very well. Even when he's in a slump, he throws the seeds very, very, very well. He smiles very well. But right now, the offense is slumping, so the defense is amplified. But it's still like the eye test, the gut test. He was better last year than he is now, right?
He was probably a little better, and we've got stats to show it.
I don't believe in stats.
Last year, so we're about halfway through the season, right? So last year in left field, Teoscar had a -8 defensive runs saved, -9 outs above average, -11 fielding run value. That's an 871 2/3 innings in left field. I'm just talking about his left field numbers last year. In right field this year, we're at 577 innings. So about 60% of what he did in left field last year. And right now he's at -8 outs above average already and -7 fielding run value. So yeah, he is worse in right field this year than he was in left field last year. But in some ways that's like saying that I weigh more now than I did when I was, only 430 pounds. It's like, you know what? Fat is fat. Bad defense is bad defense. And so it's worse. The crazy thing, and I just saw a comment that I'm not even going to try to put on the screen. I guess I will try, just so I can say I tried, especially since the comment is about effort. Matty Man Dodge. Yeah. Oh, it's hiding.
You know what?
It's hiding back there.
Yeah. It's hiding. I see it. I sees it.
No, I don't
remember. Jeff is new to pushing the button, so bear with us.
Oh, if I move that, then
as I say, add that, and then you can big it.
I can embiggen it.
This is raw. This is raw All Dodgers.
Here we are, baby. So he says no one should be surprised by Teo's defense, but we should. His hustle is another thing, and I am not convinced that it is a hustle issue. I think Teo has a quality that when he's being bad at defense, it looks like it's laziness. It looks like it's not hustling, when actually I think he's just bad at knowing where the baseball is going to go. And I think that's especially true when the ball is in front of him. Last year, when in early August, at that point he was at he had -6 defensive or outs above average in left field, and -6 defensive runs saved in left field and 4 defensive runs saved in right field. So he was much better in right field. And I asked Mark Simon from Sports Info Solutions, who they do the outs above average defensive their DRS, and I asked him why, because it didn't make sense to me. A corner outfield's a corner outfield, Why is he so good in right and so good in left? And what Mark told me then was his good numbers in right were basically he had made a few good plays at the wall, going back on a ball, and his throwing arm. He had held base runners and thrown guys out. And so in that way, I think it's easier to have good numbers from right field because you do have more opportunities to throw guys out. You have more opportunities to hold guys, because base hit to right field, a runner's expected to go first to third. If he doesn't, the right fielder gets credit for holding him. And so I think it's easier to accrue DRS in right field. But also I think it was a couple of those plays. So I think last year it was just the fact that he happened to have fewer balls coming in right field and more going back where he made the plays. I think he's just better going back on the ball. And what we saw this weekend was sometimes 3 or 4 times in one series, they hit the ball in front of you and it's really exposed. Oh, this guy can't come in on the ball.
Hey, maybe he's missing Clayton McCullough as his outfield coach, and Dino Ebel's really dropping the ball. Obviously, I'm joking around here. It's not that. I wonder, and Kevin, like we talked about this on Saturday a little bit. We talked a little around Teo and asking the question: is it time to even consider having a late game defensive replacement for him? But Bernard said it in the chat early, and we talked about it a little bit today in Dodgers territory, and I think in the chat on Discord. But either way, you have to wonder if that hamstring injury is barking a little bit, or more so he's worried about stretching it out and adding missing more time. You also heard over the weekend, he declined to defend his home run derby crown because he's kind of worried about getting beat up. He felt sore after that, and he wants to be on the field for the team in the second half of this year. I'm seriously wondering if he's kind of guarding against further injury with that hamstring. What do you think, Kev?
It's possible. We kind of mentioned it, or I mentioned it at the time, that we can't definitively say it's an effort thing because none of us are Teoscar Hernandez and none of us know how fast he can run.
You.
That's what the beard's for. See, that's why we know I'm not Teoscar Hernandez, but you possibly could be.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't know what his 100% looks like because we're not in. Obviously, we don't know what his body is feeling like. So it could definitely be an injury thing. We know hamstrings specifically are something that linger. It's, like an oblique strain. You're just it's like a weird ticking time bomb. It's kind of not an if, it's a when it's going to start barking up again. Just ask Max Muncy last year. So he could definitely be trying to shelter himself a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised because, I think Dave's comments after the game when he was asked about it were a little telling because he didn't not that he throws his players under the bus, but when he notices something, he's usually, he says it one way or another. When Andy Paz was sliding horribly, he's like, we got to correct that. He just said, that's just kind of how we're constructed and we're going to take our lumps in that area. And it's okay, so Dave clearly has no problem with it whatsoever. And that could be because, like you mentioned, maybe they put a governor on tail. Hey, if you don't think you can get to it, don't try right now. We need you healthy. Clearly, if he is injured, it's affecting him at the plate because he's not been producing as we expect Teoscar Hernandez to do so. So yeah, I would not be surprised if there's something lingering and they just say, hey man, just take it a little easier. It's gonna stand out like a sore thumb because you're already not a good defender. But
Jeff, let's get your thoughts on it real quick, and then we'll hit some bet online for everybody.
Yeah, it's whatever it is, whether it's injury, Dave Roberts, I think I could see him. It is the way they're constructed right now because Michael Conforto still exists too, and so right now, what do? You put Teo in left and Conforto in right so they can flip flop which corners they're bad in. Like it's the answer right now until they give up on the Conforto experiment probably is, I don't know. Yeah, it's what it is. But this, maybe this can be a segue, a tease for what's coming up after the ad break, which is that maybe this is what's going to push Conforto out of the lineup. That's kind of what I said last night. It might not be Conforto's offense. It might be Teo's defense that pushes Conforto out of a job.
All right, well, we'll get into that in just a second. But first, guys, we've got to tell you about Bet Online because it continues to be your number one source for all of your sports betting action. I nailed it this time in 2025. And with baseball in full swing, football season is around the corner. Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC, tennis, NFL futures, Bet Online remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the Bet Online casino. They have top Vegas-style games there, including blackjack, and there is there's poker and a live casino as well. Head to the website today. Take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet Online, the game starts here. That's what I got.
You did good. That was a good read. Hey, we got a super chat while you were reading that ad.
Let's go. Hey, I got the gong for that. I got the buttons. It's a lot of Richie.
Richie said, $9.99 super chat. I will never regret Teo over Soto. Soto pimped a homer when they're down 9-1. Put him in left field. I assume he means Teo. He gets better reads there. Conforto's a ways. Nickelback can't believe how bad he is. Teo will be fine.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Richie.
Man, it's so long. Sorry, I had to move that up again.
You got to find your way around it. Hey, hashtag MattyMan5 very well-behaved Richie and hashtag free Richie. I did want to touch on a couple things before we move on to what we already teased, but a few people in the chat also kind of agreeing on the whole idea of moving him to left. Jamie or Jaime Gonzalez saying, you were able to hide the flaws in left field and the shorter throw in left. His arm isn't great. It's above average, the arm, when he's able to get behind it.
Yeah,
but
I think Teo's arm is the one thing he has going for him on defense.
Yeah, and it feels to me like in left field you can mask bad, really, really bad defense, which was kind of what we saw in the postseason.
And yeah, maybe we ought to push off the Conforto conversation and talk about this for a minute because in right field, the Dodgers have allowed 14 triples this year. They allowed 20 triples all of last year. So they're allowing triples at a higher rate this year. And I wish, I was telling you guys right before we started, I wish I had thought of this a few hours early so I could have looked at all 14 triples and see how many of them were doubles that Teo played into triples. Because I know it's happened at least a few times this year. In right field, if you lazy play a ball, it can easily turn a double into a triple. Whereas in left field, it's really hard to hit a triple to left field, even if Teoscar Hernandez is out there. It's just,
I got that.
And so it's very hard to do that. And so, yeah, a bad right fielder can do a lot more damage than a bad left fielder can.
And, I mean, we could talk about, I said it on Saturday, you could talk about the career of Manny Ramirez playing mostly left field. Funny enough, it was pretty split, but as he got older and more broken and more steroided and slow, he played much, much more left than he did with Cleveland playing right field in his early days. But I think of that play, especially in a big outfield too. I said this on to Alana and I were talking about this on DT today, and I had said this is like the ginormous outfield that you and I talked about before the series out there in Kansas City. Like that's something that's going to overexpose a bad outfielder, and that's where you see a ball fall into no man's land a lot more. I'm less worried about the doubles turning into triples than the pop fly outs turning into singles and doubles. And that's what we saw in this series. And I think that's sort of exacerbated an overarching conversation we've had throughout the season here, which is Teo looks a little rough out there. Put him in a big outfield, he looks that much worse.
And some of those the bloopers that turn into sprinklers, my wife just texted me to run the sprinklers. That's why I just said sprinklers. Like I am Ron Burgundy. Put it on my screen, and I am going to say it.
I know how to get you to say Richie's sign off then.
Bloopers turning into singles
Yeah.
is a more dangerous thing in a big outfield like that, because you do have to play deeper or whatever. And that might be why we saw it more this weekend too. It's just the fact that he's in a bigger outfield, so he's playing deeper, so there's more room to cover between second baseman and the right fielder, whatever it is, but it's you mentioned Manny Ramirez. If Teo was hitting like Manny Ramirez, or even like Teoscar Hernandez, I really think that this would be a passing, well, sure would be nice if Teo played better defense. Good thing his offense is so good. And that's basically what we said all year last year. Good thing Teo's offense is good. It's what we said all offseason. Yeah, his defense sucks, but that bat, and that clubhouse presence, blah, 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 blah. Clubhouse presence is still there, but the bat needs to be there, because otherwise if you have a guy who can't hit and can't play defense, clubhouse presence doesn't cut it,
Yeah. I mean, you can get by with the vibes a little bit. I guess they ran out of vibes with Austin Barnes this year at some point. But
now he's a Giant, so we definitely ran out of the vibes with him.
Weird. Let's look at a silver lining here, gentlemen. Like we were teasing before the break or before the read. This could eventually mean the kind of exodus, the pushing out of the starting lineup with Michael Conforto, which I think everybody is more worried about Michael Conforto. It would be nice if he could play some defense. We know he can't. He's not very good at it anymore. He's older as well. But if Teo swallows his pride and moves back to left field at some point in Pages, and I really do truly think Dave will put his money where his mouth is by the time we get to the end of the season with this, and it will be Teo in left, it will be Pages in right, and then hopefully Tommy Edman now going to start playing more center field because the ankle is feeling better. Him being locked in out there in center field, I think we're going to be in a really, really good spot. A lot of that hinges though on Ha-Seong Kim being the real deal at second base.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Tommy Edman's ankle is another reason that Conforto has probably gotten this much runway too, because if they're not comfortable with Kim in center field, and there's plenty of reasons to think that's the case and to respect that opinion, Andy Pages is their best option in center field until Edman's ready for it, which means, okay, if Pages is in center, then yeah, Teo and Conforto, that's your other outfielders. It's not like they have somebody, they've got Ryan Ward who's hitting in AAA, but Ryan Ward couldn't catch pop-ups at first base in spring training. Like, if Ryan Ward could play defense at any position, he'd be in the big leagues for some team, and eventually he will be in the big leagues for a bad team probably. But they don't have an outfielder just screaming, call me up instead of Conforto until Tommy Edman. But now if Tommy Edman is back to being an outfielder, it just makes too much sense now. Edman in center, Pages in right, and then Teo in left, where Teo, that's the best place to hide him. Edman, good center fielder. Pages, elite right fielder. You go from being a bad defensive outfield to a slightly above average defensive outfield, and that's a big jump.
Kev, thoughts?
No, I mean, that's what we've been hoping for. And it's, we kind of talked about it a little bit on the last show. As soon as the Michael Conforto experiment ends, he's going to free up. He's the logjam right now. Everything really is hinging on the fact that Conforto, they just really seem to want him to play left, or they want to get him in the lineup. Okay. As soon as that stops, you do the lineup. You can run out the defensive lineup that Jeff just mentioned. Also, then that does also free up, people like Kike Hernandez to be a defensive replacement for Teoscar in right field or left field if that's what they want to do. Also, getting rid of Conforto lets them have like a defensive only option on the bench. That was something that Jason Hayward was actually quite good at last year, as I remember that he was on the team. He didn't play all the time, but it was great to just have him just kind of stashed. And then it was Kevin Kiermaier to be like, oh yeah, it's the 8th, 9th inning. We're up by 2 runs. Let's just go put out an elite defender. We don't have that option right now sitting on our bench.
Not on our bench, but at AAA. Talk about it slightly before we went live here. Jimmy Outman suddenly has 19 homers on the season. He's hitting 283.
Yeah, I was
Strikeout
gonna
rate
say,
is
don't look at the strikeout
all of them. Where are you at strikeouts? Only 98 strikeouts
How many plate
in
appearances?
in 307 plate appearances.
Okay,
So it's
so
only like 33%, like 30%
at
ish, you know,
AAA.
like
Yep. Yep.
at AAA. But the thing
Yeah.
is, we're not expecting him to be an everyday starter. This is if we're looking to maybe we hit a point where like Conforto just obviously has no job. I'll take the upside of Outman's glove on the bench to deploy wherever they need it. Because I mean, let's be fair, it wasn't massively important to have Kevin Kiermaier around on this roster during the postseason run, but when they needed him, it was kind of nice to have Kevin Kiermaier out in center field. You could add a platinum glove winner or whatever. Jimmy Outman is not that guy. James Outman is not that guy, or Jim's if you combine them both. But he's still somebody on the 40-man roster. And if you're trying to find some sort of job for him, I honestly take James Outman over Michael Conforto because that experiment, as a lot of people are saying in the chat, that experiment is over.
And yeah, if they go ahead, Kev.
No, I wanted, because you mentioned wanting to pull up all the triples. I'm going through a few of them. That's why I'm looking to my left so much.
I thought you were just
so
being
far
rude.
I'm about 9 in, and only Teoscar's only been involved in one of them, and that was because it was at Oracle, and Yastrzemski hit it into Triples Alley. So
Okay.
Other than that, right now it's been a lot of Mookie Betts and Andy Pahez, right?
Oh no, I'm talking this year.
Just this year.
Oh, this year. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
I'm talking
everything I just did was for nothing.
Good job. Yeah, I'm talking the 14 this year because I know I've seen it happen a few times where it's just it looks like he's jogging after the ball, and maybe he is. I don't know. You know that, and that's where you get back to the injury
Hustle.
thing or hustle or whatever. Cole had that comment that I had up on the screen a minute ago that right now, even when they are sitting Conforto, they are putting Pajes in left and leaving Teoscar in right. And I think that's because Teoscar right now, they're like, okay, you're our right fielder, so you're going to play right field. They're not, as long as he's going to be the main right fielder, they're not going to move him around on a whim. But I think if/when they do cut ties with Conforto and say, okay, now our starting outfield is Andy Pajes, Tommy Edman, and Teoscar Hernandez, at that point you have to look at what's our best defensive alignment. And honestly, for me, I think the actual best alignment is those guys flip-flopping depending on who's pitching for the Dodgers, who's hitting for the other team. Where are they going to hit the ball? Don't put Teoscar Hernandez there. Basically, like your job right now has to be hide Teoscar Hernandez on defense. And so if it's a right-hander on the mound and a bunch of lefties on the other team, and so you're expecting balls hit to right field, then absolutely put Pajes in right field. But if it's, Kershaw on the mound, the other team is stacking their, we know Kershaw's not overpowering guys. When they do hit the ball, they're going to pull the ball. More balls are going to go to left field there. Put Pajes there. And I don't know if they will actually go that far because there's probably something to be said for comfort level, knowing what position you're going to play. If that's the case, then it needs to be Teo in left and Pajes in right because you can do less damage in left. But also a lot of the time, in general, there are more balls hit to left field than to right field. And so by moving Teo, you are saying, all right, worst defender on the team, why don't you go play where they hit more balls? And there's at least something a little bit questionable about that.
I would add another factor too, is like what park are they playing at? Because at Oracle, I want Teo in right field where he has a nice comfort wall right behind him. If they're in Houston, give me that nice comfort wall right behind him in left field. Same with, the big green Monsta and Baston. Give me that comfort wall
Can
behind
you do that
him.
again? That was really nice.
No.
Baston.
I don't do shows. I only do tricks.
Dance, monkey.
So, okay, I've looked a little more at this year specifically.
Breaking news.
It's not great. There's definitely a few.
Back in the studio.
It looks like he's running through molasses. Granted, and the guys.
But the funny thing is, the sprint speed is good. The sprint speed is good on the bases.
So
I think he's guarding.
I think so too. He misplayed a ball where he was coming in on it, and then it caromed really weird, and he missed it. And there are some that just get to the corner, and he's not Like if he's going for the ground ball, he's trying to stop like exactly where the ball lands, as opposed to maybe trying to run through it. And so he's just like he's hitting the brakes. I would say like a step or two early. Also, though, the guys that are hitting triples are really like it's like Jung Hoo Lee, Pete Crow Armstrong, like real Xavier Edwards, like real athletes. So, and also one of them, Miguel Rojas, spiked the throw from second to third. I don't know where PCA was on the base paths at that point, but if it was remotely close, like that could have been a play that was made. But still, the point being, even looking at the triples from last year compared to this year, if Teoscar, I think, was actually running what his sprint speed indicates he could run, according to StatCast, I do think I don't think we have nearly as many triples.
Listen, I'll add this. Well, there's two things to add. One of them is self-aggrandizing, and the other one is me pretending I can play outfield. But one is if you guys hit that like button and subscribe, Teo try harder. I promise you, he's been watching this show to make sure that you guys hit that like button.
Some super chats might help too.
Super chats. Well, he loves those. He picks up at least 3 miles per hour or 3 feet per second when it comes to sprint.
If you super chat $20 and say "Run faster, Teo," it couldn't hurt, right?
You got to show more leg to get $20, Jeff. This is. We do a lot more content now. Oh no! We're about to watch Jeff fall out of his chair. We saw leg. We actively see leg. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast side, you really need to watch the show. This is a show worth watching, or something like that. But
something like that.
One other factor: playing outfield as much as I have in my life, and fat guy run, funny. I'm not fast. I have pretty decent first step when I'm, in practice, and I have good routes when I'm in practice. And those first few days, or you're trying a little too hard and everything's too bouncy and the ball is doing this on you, I wonder if he's trying to really control his gait, control his stride, so he could actually see the baseball. Then that said, whatever the hell happened, deep right field on Saturday or Friday in Kansas City would kind of negate my thing, because he was just kind of striding.
But that one was an anomaly even for Teo.
Yeah. I will say, to your point, I just watched one where Luis Arraez, it was 81.2 off the bat. So I won't exactly say he ripped it to right field, but he hit it down the line past Freddie. And as the ball's traveling to right field, Teoscar isn't even trying to come in on the ball. He meets the ball in the corner. Like, he ran to the corner of the field and then sat there and waited for it. I think if we're going to assume he's not 100% healthy, if he's even healthier, he cuts that ball off I could have gotten.
If I remember right, there were 2 triples in that inning, or at least 2 plays that Teo Teo'd out there in that inning.
Is it a verb now?
A run or two. Unfortunately. Hey, we got us a super chat, guys.
Let's go. Yeah. All you got to do is just bang on the streets. Dry Protoss for $5 chat. Appreciate you. Dry Protoss. Never let it be said that he doesn't do his part for this team. Hell yeah. That's $5 for us. All it took was Jeff showing some leg and potentially almost flipping out of his chair, and this whole operation would have blown up.
This chair is pretty sturdy,
Yeah,
hey,
but wheels are wheels.
That's true. Although this has good wheels too.
I don't know the context, but I loved Mark Noah Sotelo's chat. This is "Call me Mr. Sodium. I'm very salty today." It's just good. That's just good, clean fun right there. I enjoy that.
Mark spends a lot of his time being salty. I like him. We have some good banter here on the internet. I want to pop this one up because I see this sentiment a lot. B.L. Boyd says, now's the perfect time to move Mookie back to right field without him getting pissed off. That's what they did last year. Mookie's playing a good shortstop right now.
They don't have a shortstop ready to go.
Yeah, there is no replacement shortstop. And I remain convinced that Mookie Betts would not be the Gold Glove right fielder that he was in the past. We've seen the steps that Mookie has lost in his sprint speed. Obviously, he's still going to have that judgment. He's still got, I don't think his arm is as good as it used to be, but it's still a good arm. But I think that Mookie would be I think people are remembering 6 Gold Gloves in right field, Mookie Betts, and thinking
Yeah.
that's what we'd be getting right now. And I just do not believe that's what we'd be getting from Mookie Betts in right field right now.
Please put up Mark's latest comment for me so everybody can enjoy. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I do know where the buffets are. Actually, I don't. I haven't been to a buffet in a while.
When
This
did
is all
what,
gifted.
when did okay? So Teo hit the IL on May 6th.
Sure.
There was a triple hit on May 3rd. So if it was nagging him at the time, it makes sense. But again, 85 miles an hour off the bat. Maybe Teoscar was shaded a little far because it was a right-handed batter in the box. But he doesn't exactly. If anybody wants the video, there it is. He doesn't exactly sprint to that ball. I'll say it doesn't look like he's giving it out of, would say, his best effort. But that's close enough to when he hit the IL that maybe was already kind of bothering him. Shrug
I think
emoji.
there's something to the injury, and Dr. V with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, good doctor, because it might be related to that hamstring injury because he is kind of a little bit jogging a little bit lighter. He's never going to be gold glove caliber, but it's very noticeable right now. I would not be shocked, much like they kind of have been protecting Tommy Edman. Maybe they're telling Teo just don't go all in. It's okay. They feel like they need that bat in the lineup, which you probably do, because otherwise the alternative is, a lineup that has Michael Conforto and James Outman in it, and that nobody's going to enjoy that.
Yeah. Any lineup with James Outman in it is going to have a black hole in it. Yeah. When he does make contact, it'll probably go over the fence.
Unless it's the OKC Comets, they have a good time with him, but that's a different story.
Yeah. If we could only figure out a way to only let him face AAA pitching in the big leagues, then his strikeout rate would only be 33%.
White Sox are coming to town.
That's true. So he'd probably only strike out a third of the time, and yeah.
So to give us something to wrap this up in a nice bow, we know the questions on the screen. Do the Dodgers need to move Teoscar to left field? I think we are all in agreement here. Yes. Now, Jeff, will they by the time this team gets to October?
Absolutely. I know I may be in the minority here when it comes to Dodger fans. I see a lot of saltiness on the internet about the Dodgers front office, but I am 100% sure that Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts and Brandon Gomes all want the Dodgers to win the World Series even more than I want the Dodgers to win the World Series.
Do you have sources on this?
Yeah, common sense. And so
Trust me, bro.
I'm also sure that they're smarter than I am. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm positive Andrew Friedman is smarter than me. And so they're aware of all this stuff. Nobody is watching Teoscar play right field and say, yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. This is the stuff we hope lasts all through October. And nobody's watching Michael Conforto hit and say, oh, this is what we signed him for, baby. They all know all of this. That what they are is more patient than a lot of Dodger fans. And so it is June 30th right now when we're talking. And so, yeah, you know what? They haven't pulled the trigger on this stuff yet, but they will. Whether that's on July 15th or September 1st, sometime when the games matter, they are going to be putting out their best lineup possible. And they're also smart enough to know that you're going to need to do it before October starts to get everybody used to their roles and everything. So we're in the second half of the season now. We're going to start to see them making some of these changes, and fans will say, see, they finally listened to us, when really it's like, no, they knew the answer all along. They're just more patient than you.
Listen, I would love to have like all of these first world problems that the Dodgers have, like we have, and still be in first place, still have be tied for the best record in baseball. And this is a narrative that we have to just keep bringing up over and over, because we're going to come here just about every day on the internet and complain about things and poke holes in the lineup or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, Dodgers have a 7-game lead in the NL West right now. And the Padres already lost today as well, so you feel even better, 7.5 game lead over them. You can experiment. You could play around with seeing if there's any value to Michael Conforto's contract. And if not, you move on. when the games matter. You start ramping people up in mid-August into September, and then everybody feels real good, and we go out and win a ring, and then everybody's happy, and then we have that thing that we were doing here before going live. It's like, oh wow, not Boba Shit, but the other one, the other bad
Kevin Biggio.
Yeah, Kevin Biggio. Oh wow, he played some left field for the Dodgers last year. All these names you didn't remember. I'm sure we're gonna happily forget Michael Conforto sometime in mid-October. I hope.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and Richie Flores 499. Only thing athletic about Clint is his athlete's feet. Hashtag
I don't
freaking,
have
hashtag
athlete's feet.
The only
Or
so
even foot.
I guess when you
Thank
look
you,
at
Richie.
the fact that Nick Ahmed and Kevin Biggio did get major league starts for this team last year. In the middle of September, they were still running out Chris Taylor. Granted, they still had a sizable, or they were doing well enough in the West to kind of do it. But I mean, maybe Chris Taylor is just kind of the exception because they feel they have a high affinity for him. But yeah, I guess comparatively, the rosters, you always look at like that July 17th roster. You're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And come September, you're
Those
kind
are
of
my
okay. This
favorite.
looks more like this is more normal.
But usually
What was
that's
the
because of
result?
injury,
Yeah.
Right now, it's not like they have any of their offensive stars out right now. Obviously, there's plenty of guys who are hurting, but I mean, the roster right now is basically what they expected it to be to some extent. Maybe they expected Chris Taylor and Austin Barnes to be there, but they're not missing anybody. It's just that guys are underperforming, and Court said in the chat, why aren't we talking about the Dodgers lead all of MLB in total offense? And we definitely talk about that plenty. The Dodgers are still a good team, but that doesn't mean you just take the weaknesses and just ignore them, because even a great team can be a greater team. And, we're not complaining about the offense here, really, even though, like you talked about on DT earlier, Clint. Like, it's crazy that the Dodgers were as good in June. I talked about it yesterday, too, that they were as good in June as they were, considering the fact that their top four batters, Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, and Teo, all had at least down months and in some cases bad months in June. And they've got pitchers on
career
the
worst
injured list.
months.
Yeah, career worst for three of them. And yet they won a bunch of games with no starting pitching. And, it's a deep team. It's going to be, they're a good team. They're going to be very good. But we do want them to be the best version of themselves so that they can hold a piece of metal again in October.
And the important thing is, too, before the season, Kevin and I had 109 wins. Kevin was drunk off his ass, apparently, had 112 wins. We want to hit those numbers. Let's go. We need offense to be cruising. And by the way, so July 1st, just randomly picked up the closest date, 2021 season. So I remember that lineup or that roster being weird. Mookie Betts right, Chris Taylor short, JT third base, Max Muncy second, Albert Pujols first base, Cody Bellinger center field, Will Smith at catcher, AJ Pollock in left field, and at some point in time, Steven Souza Jr. came in to pinch hit. That just feels like a weird lineup too, and that was like an A lineup at
2021. You've got Steven Souza Jr., you got Billy McKinney, you got Luke Rayleigh, you've got
Luke Rayleigh,
got DJ
Luke
Peters, and you've got Zach Rex. Like it was 2021 was. Oh, and freaking the alligator arm. What was that dude's name? The guy who alligator armed that, the reason the Dodgers didn't win the division, he didn't stretch on the play at second base in the game against the Darren Ruffcheck swing game. What was that kid's name? Came for the A's, then went to Japan after the Dodgers dumped him.
Oh, Sheldon Noisy.
Sheldon Noisy.
Thank you.
Like there are
Sheldon
so
Noisy.
many names from 2020. You're like, this team won 106 games?
Yeah,
And,
111.
No,
Isn't that one?
2021
That's why I said
2021 was 106.
22, yeah.
And they employed some of the worst players in their history that year because they just had so much going on. And so this team, the Dodgers know how to overcome adversity. They know how to build a deep roster, and they know how to win games even when things aren't going perfectly. And we're going to see more of that, but also they know how to cut ties when they need to, and we'll see some of that at some point.
Tell that to Chris Taylor.
Hey, they did eventually. But Jeff, did you say Andy Burns? Because I want to make sure we get some Andy Burns love.
Yeah, I did.
That was a
Donnie Boy
dude.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Donnie boy. When was Andy Burns? Because that dude ended up getting NLCS playing time after JT blew out his hammy, which is so bad. And also shout out to my boy Yoshi Tsutsugo. Rest in peace. He's still alive, but his career is very
Yeah,
bad.
they signed. I think they got him and Pujols the same day.
Yeah, I was at the golf course, which if I'm gone, if I'm doing something like out where I can't do anything, the Dodgers will almost always make a move. So look out for me on the golf course. Come trade
But
deadline.
that was the year in that Braves series. They had Albert Pujols and Billy McKinney and Steven Souza or something. They all struck out in a row. Maybe not McKinney, but I know Pujols and Souza going up against some Braves reliever. It's like, are we even trying here? The ghost of Albert Pujols and a guy who never even was good enough to have a ghost of, you know?
Yeah. Oh, what a time to be alive. So again, these are all.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Jake Marisnick for a hot second.
Oh. First world problems right now. The Dodgers are pretty dang good. They score a lot of runs, but we've said that enough. I think we're good to hit that wrap it up button, guys. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you for the comments, the questions, the engagement. Thank you very much for the super chat, guys. You guys need to be aware that really does mean a lot to us, and that does help fuel this show and bring more and more content to you just about every single day. That is our goal right now. If you're looking for a different way to support the show for much less than the price of a Dodger dog, do check out the Patreon, patreon.com/realfrg, or click the join button here on YouTube. Our most popular option is the $5 option. It gets you access to the All Dodgers Discord server. We're talking about Dodger baseball all day long, all year long. We also have monthly game watch parties, especially when Kevin's video feed is not blacked out because of the White Sox. There's members only live streams coming up, all that kind of stuff, and meetups at Dodger Stadium a couple times a year. So check that out. Otherwise, best way to support the show, hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your grandma. We would appreciate it a whole bunch. The guy in the middle is Snydog. Give him a follow at Snydog on the Twitter. The guy on the other end is producer Kevin. Give him a follow. Skinner7 Kevin on the Twitter. I'm Real FRG on all the social media things. All Dodgers is presented by Bet Online, and we'll see you on the next one of these. Bye.
Bye.